Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. It's currently 11:47 in the morning. This is video documentation serving for one main purpose, which is the prosecution exposing public corruption in the state of California. The matter of public corruption consists of what is criminal surveillance that's underway by the state of California, and the state of California is engaging in what is criminal surveillance in concert with the people of the state. And the people of the state is everyone that you're looking at, every house, every apartment building, every address, as it will be identified by the federal government when this population is going to be prosecuted for what is referred to as group stalking. This is gang stalking, state organized stalking. This is a criminal system that is surveillance operated by the state in concert with everyone in that environment. That environment is readily identifiable as what I have referred to as the specific environment. It is clearly identified because it is outside of the bounds of anything remotely comparable to the natural environment. There's nothing natural about it at all. And the entity is also engaging in what is readily identifiable within that specific environment, where the government is necessarily engaging in what is group stalking. It's a government system, by the way. It's not just a group of people that are group stalking. The government's engaged in group stalking, gang stalking. That's a government system, as opposed to all the false depictions of group stalking, which is within the pattern of conduct. The government wants there to be fallacies out there in the world regarding what gang stalking is and who is gang stalking. The state, the government, is gang stalking. And the government in the United States is gang stalking at that. But nonetheless, it's demonic activity. Group stalking is that which is underway by the demon possessed. Demon possession is a condition where human beings who have demonic spirits over them are engaging in monitoring behaviors. That is literally the spirit of Satan that is operating over a group of people. It can be a group of people, can be 3 people. Demon possession can be the condition of one person. The system of group stalking is where the government and the people of the state, you're talking about a population that is of this demented condition, and they are together as an entity engaging in what is demonic activity, demonic behaviors that are designed to target an American citizen. It becomes legally relevant where we're at. It's the U.S. There's a constitution, a body of law, state and federal, outlawing the government that is engaging in necessarily criminal surveillance, stalking you in order to monitor you. This is also readily identifiable in evidence that is not based on any spiritual text with regard to the criminal conduct, okay? But the spiritual text is relevant. The Holy Bible will tell you about, if you're questioning the reality of Satan, the reality of demon possession, the Bible itself is a testament to what I am pointing out is occurring in the United States, and it's criminal. It's entirely criminal and highly malicious. So 11:47 in the morning, that's just prefacing what I want to point out. It's 11:47. You can clearly see the specific environment. You're just paying attention to the light activity. The shadow of the gate is on the ground. This is speaking to the immediacy of a light source. The shadow of the trees. The shadow is right beneath the trees. You can see that, speaking to the light source, it is directly in its zenith, in other words, directly above me. I am standing inside of my apartment looking out the living room window, which is facing the direction east, I believe. This is the light source at 11:47 in the morning. It's currently 11:50. I started this video at 11:47 for a specific purpose. And again, when I do this, I'm giving vivid illustration after vivid illustration because I'm showing the ongoing consistency with the formula that I have pointed out so that the federal government and the rest of the world, but the federal government who's going to prosecute and is learning about the criminal conduct of corrupt governments in the United States, the state government that is monitoring American citizens and what it looks like, excuse me, that's something on the window, what it looks like and how it operates. And you identify the demonic system in the demonic environment, and it is readily identifiable through what is under all circumstances impossible to naturally occur. That is by definition what I've told you, visible through my apartment, the sunrise and the sunset. There is no deviation from that same phenomenon when that, first of all, demonic, and secondly, malicious government that is monitoring, that's the impermissible threat, monitoring the documentation, that's federal stalking also, aware, in other words, of the evidence that's being gathered against it and exposing its criminal conduct, then you're talking about what is ongoing demonic behavior, covering up the light source for any portion of the day so as to fail. Nevertheless, that is still a criminal effort. It's relevant to prosecution because it's demonic. The entity, in the same way that you're exercising the demonic and having a light source over me for the duration of the day as I remain at this one address all day. It is the same exercise of the demonic while that light source is covered up for any portion of the day, as though, even though it is failing in every regard, because number one, you never forget the fact that you captured the phenomenon on day 1. On day 2 through 33, day 1 evidence remains. In addition, day 2 through day 33, you're talking about what is the ongoing consistency of the pattern of conduct at whatever point in the day that light source is exposed. And where is it exposed? Directly over me. It's the same exact pattern of conduct. So what I'm documenting today is at 11:47 in the morning, where I am nowhere near Los Angeles, have not relocated to Los Angeles County. I'm living in an entirely different region, specifically in Ontario, California. I am sleeping outside where the state is stalking me in helicopters day and night. So I want to let you know the demonic system, the government's criminal surveillance, the people of the state that are obsessively stalking you, you are the center of their universe, and it's not based on your socioeconomic status. Their criminal conduct continued while I was homeless. And by the way, my homelessness and the lack of financial ability to take care of myself is not due to my inability to provide for myself or remain competent as a professional. First of all, as an attorney, a licensed attorney, and also going into property management, which you're looking at. I'm in property management now. You're looking at what is the pattern of conduct that's underway. The pattern of conduct was underway as a practicing attorney as well. That is, by the way, those that are sworn into the California bar that are engaging in what is criminal conduct and doing so in official capacities while practicing law. I'm talking about the courthouses that I went to, the judges as I went into the hearings, the people of the state that were my clients, all of that, which was a matter of public information while the entity was monitoring me, keeping the light source over my car as I drove to all the courthouses, and then reporting back, for example, to the law office of Michael Bialis, where I was practicing practicing private criminal law for his law office, which was in West Hills. This was the P.O.C. And like I stated before, the LAPD are the criminals that brought to my attention that they were indeed heavily group stalking, as I had already documented the Upland Police Department in San Bernardino County. That's what prompted me to document the entire state, okay? And that's what the P.O.C., that's where the P.O.C. starts, and the LAPD is where the P.O.C. is going to end. They're going to be disbanded. Dominic Choi will be permanently removed. He will be published as a terrorist in the United States, and in facilitating and aiding, as you see every day, governing over a terrorist organization that in the U.S. are masquerading themselves as law enforcement agencies, and they are literally bowing like the entity is quoting me as I'm speaking to the reality of their demonic behavior and their criminal activity, their lawlessness, okay, while they try to literally censor my speech. This is the government that has the audacity to both engage in criminal conduct against you and then try to silence you. That's what Heather Till speaker companies, the people of the state, are engaging in, and I'm going to prosecute. They're going to federal prison for a very long time for the audacity to engage in that, while I'm capturing the specific environment, which is outside of my apartment in Los Angeles, where there will never be any sunrise. There will never be any sun over the apartment complex anywhere in this sky space, anywhere in this area at all whatsoever under any circumstances, because of what I've already documented. And if that was the natural environment that I'm capturing, by the way, and where I'm remaining in San Bernardino County, where I am present at what is the exact same time, well, then there is no provision for there to be any sun over my head in Los Angeles, where I'm nowhere near, literally down to the same minute, same hour, same day, time of year analysis. That's not the sun that would maintain that sort of zenith presence, in other words, over everyone, everywhere, because it's not going to be based on the state. You're talking about everyone, no matter where you are in California, no matter where you are in the country, let alone the world. That's what the entity is suggesting when I capture evidence of what is absolutely impossible, that the sun is in its zenith, rising over me, where I wake up in the morning, the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, in June of 2022, and where I am traveling, literally remaining on the same block, crossing one street to walk feet away to go to the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, never coming anywhere near the Ovid Family Community Library, where you're looking at light activity. This is Sean and Kim Jong. They're both going back to Korea. Okay, they're engaging in terrorism, and the entity has the ease with which they're able to do so. That is literally by maintaining presence in the engineered environment. And what you just saw them do is criminal conduct on behalf of the government that's flying over my apartment, flying over my office, doing so 24 hours a day. And by the way, violating my quiet enjoyment, while the people of the state that are monitoring are literally copying off of me the audible activity that they're monitoring me to, while they are monitoring my documentation, literally copying off of me, documenting my, literally, and I put that in air quotes because they're not documenting me. The entity is engaged in monitoring me. So they are engaging in what is, oh, I'm going to record the targeted individual that's documenting you. Using that evidence that I'm still going to prosecute you with, because they're so-called recordings that's referenced in this libelous document that's given to me by the people of the state. Everybody's going to federal prison. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody at speaker companies, the corporate office, everybody that lives at Alvarado Gardens, the people of the state, whom the entity is admittedly giving this information, which I don't even need that. I don't even need it. It's ongoing acts of obstruction of justice. You're in the unnatural environment. You're stating as a psychopath, oh, that you have information that was given to you. Oh, it's not the fact that you are a demon-possessed group stalker in the unnatural environment, engaged in 24-hour surveillance of the highest level of malice in concert with the corrupt entity that is documented group stalking with you in this environment 24/7, which is entirely demonic, by the way, evidenced by the light activity and the psychotic level of stalking, both by the people of the state and by the entity that uses helicopters, police, fire, and ambulance vehicles. That demonic environment is fully captured. And it's also showing the demonic environment while it's juxtaposed to my location in an entirely different region. And that is the substance of what you see Jong Kim and Sean Jung walking by a crossing path and doing so with impunity. Not only are they going to federal prison, let me be clear, the terrorist organization, the LAPD, is relying on their criminal engagement in exactly what you just saw, crossing path, not walking in sunlight. They're walking in the engineered light that appears on my ceilings in my bedroom, that travels all across my carpet, underneath my mattress, crawling up my bedroom walls, flashing as though there's a photo shoot. That's what they're walking in. It's not sunlight, and they're monitoring in plain sight. And because the entity acts with such audacity, while they're also, that boldness, the government's boldness, because that's what they represent, the people of the state are in the shoes of the government. You're not living as an individual. You're not exercising any privacy rights. All of this engineered light all over the property, the light source over my head, which I'm going to show you, which is never going to be over me, at Vos Church in Ontario, at Euclid Avenue and B Street, a very specific angle where I'm showing you not only the light source, but the engineered light, the pattern of stalking with engineered light that you see on the apartment buildings while these demons are driving by, crossing path, while the light source is remaining over the apartment complex all day, while you see it on my ceilings and flashing of light on above my head in my bedroom and in my living room, and appearing upright on the halls in the depths of my hallways on the ceilings, while the entity is maintaining a light source over the property all day long. And in that specific environment, it is also identified because the state itself, the terrorist organizations, are using helicopters to engage in group stalking, which is the evidence that the LAPD has provided. And then that entity is seeking to obstruct justice and attempting to silence you while you are enforcing your rights. They are literally threatening your life, threatening your safety, your liberty, your well-being, and as you're looking at here, threatening your ability to provide for yourself. This is within the pattern, by the way, the entity harassing in the workplace. Speaker companies is not going to survive civil and criminal prosecution, and they're all going to federal prison at the corporate office. They're all going to sit in federal cells, literally. At 11:47 in the morning on June 12th, okay? Today's June 11th, so I'm getting down to the same minute, and this is what I'm documenting at 11:47 on June 12th, same time of year analysis applies. And I want to show you this because what you saw Jong Kim walking and Sean Kim walking under right now is for the criminal purpose of monitoring me. And you know that because it's not the sun. In other words, the sun is not going to maintain presence, not coincidentally, right over my head in its zenith. In other words, the sun's not captured somewhere over there where I'm capturing it at a distance, which I would still have an argument for the P.O.C. because it wouldn't be anywhere over here. I wouldn't see it at all. But the fact that the entity engages in even more hovering, stalking, psychotic conduct, which is illustrated, personified through the presence with the engineered light and the light source, which is not the sun. That's how you're understanding it. And there is no possible way under nature, the way that nature operates, the natural environment, that which is the exclusive sun, is not maintaining presence in its zenith as I'm capturing here on June 12, 2022 at 11:47 in the morning. And as I stand here, the light source hasn't gone anywhere. It's right here. And I've already captured this on video. I'm capturing it again on another day because Heather Till, as I have stated, she is going to face a prolonged term in federal prison for being nothing other than the spokesperson for the people of the state. That is the state of California that is violating your constitutional and human rights, is speaking through the people of the state who are running an illegitimate business, which which is also relevant to RICO charges, by the way, where nothing other than they are facilitating criminal surveillance by the government. That's why the crime scene is where I work. That's why the crime scene is where I live, because I live where I work. That's why the crime scene is underway while the people of the state are also facilitating and engaging, acting in sync, in other words, with that unnatural environment and with the state that uses helicopters and sirens to keep you under surveillance, group stalk you, which is to terrorize you. All right, so at 11:47, which is the time now, I want you to see my screen. It's currently, it's the time when I started this video. It's 12:02 p.m. The light source remains. I want to point out a detail, as I've already shown, just to be clear. The light source literally is right here. As I walk, just like you saw in video yesterday in the parking lot at 5, as I move, the light source is moving to this edge now. It's not over here while I'm standing over here. The light source is directly over my head, and as I move, that's where the light source is at. Okay, so I want to point that out to you. It's very demonic. And they're monitoring while they are crossing path, walking on the sidewalk as you see them crossing path on video. And the entity that is group stalking you always provides the body of evidence against itself. The entity is group stalking you in plain sight. Okay, they can't stalk you with audible activity. They can't stalk you in the path outside of your awareness of it. They're stalking with audible activity. They're always maintaining noise, which is relevant to their condition, which is also identified through the unnatural environment. Okay, but the entity that's group stalking you does so in a plain, obvious manner, and also the demonic environment is present, obviously, as well, because it's hiding in plain sight. And so once that malice is unveiled, you are clearly capable and providing a wealth of evidence against yourself moment by moment. And they're not acting as individuals. It's evidence against the whole population who's going to be documented, prosecuted for that impunity that's exhibited while you live at a crime scene for purposes of 24-hour surveillance and intolerable level of facilitation. The punishment is federal prison. So at 11:47, this is where I am starting the video, and I want you to see what is right above my head. This is indeed the light source. That is not the sun. That would be in any location. I want you to compare what I'm looking at. This is, first of all, engineered light that's appearing upright. This is the pattern of what I've shown you. Engineered light that you saw on in my office, in the shade inside of the room of my office, and the light source is outside of my office door in the afternoon, while it's still over me at that same office door as I captured at 11 in the morning, at 3 and 4 in the afternoon. It's still over me at that office door, and as I go inside of my office, where no sunlight is traveling under doors and into the depths of an office, you have what is appearing upright on the wall, which was engineered light, my magnified size of my shadow upright on the wall in the corner of my office. That's what I'm capturing out here on the roads and the highways, where you have a whole population, just like here, a whole population crossing path easily as they live at the crime scene, crossing paths as they live all around a relevant position. That's what is revealed through, the system is revealed when you have what is engineered light, impossible light activity, just present on the street. You can look at it clearly. While the light source is over my head, it's not even the product of sunlight, nor is the sun going to be over me at this location at P.O.C. Church, a fake church. They're engaging in what is criminal conduct. First of all, that's how you know it's not the church of the Lord Jesus Christ. And they're also practicing that which is of the demonic, serving Satan. It's not the church of the Lord Jesus Christ. And this is the light source that's over me at 11:47 in the morning. My shadow that's appearing right here. Can you see this? Just want to make sure you see that, because this is called impossible light activity. While demons coming out of that fake church, while the fake sun is above my head, where there is no Okay, so I want you to see that the entity is maintaining this specific environment, and this is the entity that's engaged in surveillance here in Los Angeles and seeking to silence me while they are threatening my life on an ongoing basis. All right, the psychopath that states that they are threatened while they threaten you, the sex offender that says that you are violating them when they're violating you, the stalker that says that you're targeting them when they are targeting you, the same thing that you see, the entity that physically attacks me, and then on that video, which is why you document the entity, physically attacks you while they stay out of their mouth, which is audible activity, that you attack them. Okay, that's what the Carbajal's engaged in. Let me be clear. The Carbajal's are not acting as individuals, just as the Jungs are not acting as individuals. This is the entity, and this is what you saw Amazon Prime engaging. Amazon Prime knows that it was documented while they're arriving on video crossing path on what is Lobdell for purposes of engaging what is group stalking, exhibiting, by the way, their demon possession, the malice with which they act. You need to know that Amazon Prime is monitoring you in the United States. They are doing so with knowledge of the fact that they're being exposed. That's why after 5 p.m., the light source is over my head, and I'm still on these same property grounds, and you're looking at a third party wearing an Amazon logo with that license plate, and the light source is hovering in relevant position to me, where the natural environment is never going to be present, while the entity is keeping the light source as a matter of documentation over my head, where you see at the top, where I'm in Maine and Ontario, California. There is no provision that the sun's ever going to be at Alvarado Gardens. In addition to that, the evidence is on the record that the entity maintaining a so-called sunrise, as I'm documenting all of the people of the state, and the entity has a so-called sunset in alignment to the same exact apartment where I remain in the evening after 7 p.m., where the people of the state, Amazon Prime, are group stalking with the rest of the people of the state, the rest of the population. That's the entity that acts commercially. That is the government, by the way, that is acting through the people of the state that provide their companies. That's exactly what Speaker Companies is doing, providing their company as where the crime scene is present, where those that are literally living on the grounds of the real property. Our Todd Speaker's going to federal prison, and so is every one of the residents that pay him rent are. They're all going to federal prison together. This is the entity that's threatening your life, having no shared natural environment, okay? Amazon Prime is indeed crossing path, and that driver that you saw yesterday, the driver that you saw last week, while the light source is over this property, threatening in concert with the entity, that is Gabriel Arriaga Carbajal, who's in the parking lot, while that light source that is not possibly the sun is hovering over me in this same parking lot, where you see it not only you're looking at the pattern, not only is it present in LA, which is never coexisting with its presence over me at what is Vos Church at Euclid Avenue and B Street in Ontario, California, where the documentation for the whole day, there's no point where the sun ceased from remaining over me. I remain in Ontario on June 11th and on June 12th. There's never going to be any sun. Not only is it over in LA, it's over my head in LA, which is a phenomenon. It's not over the people of the state over there. I'm not looking at it at a great distance over there. And also, while you see it directly above my head, while I'm inside, stepping outside of my front door of my apartment in Los Angeles that's facing the east direction, starting at 11:47 in the morning on video, and where it remains, as you already know, into the evening, as I capture the entity group stalking with a light source that remains well into the evening. This is what I'm capturing. That's the entity group stalking last night, which is, again, relevant also, but I'm going to keep it to the light source right now on the engineer light. This is captured. It's 11 o'clock in the morning right now. 11:47 is when I'm starting this video. 11:47 in the morning, it's over my head inside of building 1806, apartment number 6. I'm inside of 1806 apartment number 6 at 6:02 p.m. The video stops at 6:10. And this is the entity maintaining a light source that is never the sun, and never is it anywhere in Ontario out of conformity, in other words, with what I directly documented, because I'm not capable of putting a sun over my head. That is no sort of Photoshop operation that I can provide in the same way that you're looking at my inability to control what's above my head in the sky space. But what you are witnessing while you see the Kim Jong and Sean Jong of 1806 apartment number 5 terrorists, that the government betraying a natural born citizen, that is myself, with those that are not even naturally born here. So I'm just getting to the level of what is un-American conduct, and then you're granted the privilege to be here, and this betrayal by your own government includes those which have been granted an ability to be here, engaging in the most un-American criminal conduct, terrorism. All right, so like I said, all levels, it's not about being against where you're naturally born. What I'm getting at is the fact that you are engaging in what is absolutely un-American with an un-American government. That's what the state of California represents, because that's what the state of California is doing in the most malicious way while they practice the demonic. In a malicious way, with the intent, by the way, to do so, to discard that target individual. And like you're seeing the entity failing at, but I'm going to prosecute you for it in order to inform the federal government about the pattern by the corrupt government that's engaging in criminal surveillance, wanting to engage in a pattern to obstruct justice, threatening your employment, kidnapping you, waging false allegations. This is everything that the entity was doing in the specific environment where I remained in 2022, as I documented, during this time of year. Reference 10:29 in the morning at the Ovid Family Community Library. The same location where I'm at on this day, but first I want you to see this. This is 6:10. The light source is over me right now, where you're seeing Jong Kim just having a good old time, group stalking in plain sight. Amazon Prime having a good old time, just group stalking in plain sight. You're not delivering a package. You're openly engaging in what is state terrorism. I'm going to prosecute you for that impunity, because not only are they engaging in the state's criminal system, these demons are monitoring on the video of the internet via communication devices, keeping you under surveillance, aware of what you are becoming aware of, and documenting and publishing on the internet, which the entity has learned will be instrumental in its prosecution and exposure. Okay, so the entity is maintaining this light source. This is not the sun, nor is this sunlight. This is relevant to the same P.O.C. that you see that I'm capturing on a wall on an intersection in Ontario, California, where it's never the product of sunlight. It's the product of stalking with engineered light, which is the direct evidence. It's not circumstantial evidence. Engineered light and possible light activity is direct evidence of the criminal system that's operated by the state of federal group stalking and monitoring. And so I want you to understand, recognize the patterns again, because that's what you're looking at. This is engineered light that's on a surface above. This is what I'm going to show you. And this is engineered light that's inside of my apartment that you also see appearing on my ceilings, having nothing to do with sunlight. The light source that you just see outside of my apartment, and it's 11:47 when I'm starting this video, you're talking about what's necessarily the case. Oh, the demon-possessed entity that thinks that it can threaten you and silence you when it's threatening your life and terrorizing you, including in the workplace, which you will be civilly prosecuted for, will engage in exhibiting psychotic level of malice. That's what's being exhibited when you read the language of the letter composed and provided to me, literally to prosecute with. Okay, while you compose that letter, it's showing malice. It's not convincing anyone that they're not group stalkers. You are witnessing the malice of the state that literally is engaging in ongoing stalking in helicopters to date with the people of the state, like you see the Jones doing to date, while that which is not possibly the sun. This is where you're recognizing the demonic activity. The demon possessed are highly malicious and psychotic. Their personality defect, the threat that they are to the public, is exposed not only as you are learning their criminal conduct, the formulaic ability to identify its elements of monitoring, which they are systematically maintaining as a population of the demon possessed. They are doing so while they are keeping you under surveillance on the venue of the internet in violation of Title 18, 22618 subsections 1 and 2, which is also informing the manner in which they engage in the pattern of conduct as you operate a communication device, as you upload information, as you capture documentation on your phone. Okay, so this is the engineer light inside of my apartment. This is the same apartment where I'm standing outside and you're looking at it over my head at 11 in the morning. This is on the ceiling inside of my apartment. Again, this is 6:02 in the evening. This is no product of sunlight. In the same way, this is no product of sunlight at the top. Oh, sorry, hold on.
Just want to show you.
This is my shadow that's appearing upright.
This is my shadow that's appearing right here.
Magnified in size.
Just want to make sure you see
While
that.
the sun is above my
Coming out of
head.
that big sun is above my head.
Okay, so where the sun is above you, that creates a shadow that is flat on the ground behind you. That doesn't create multiple shadows above your head. That doesn't create what is light that's going to appear both in the shade and upright on a wall. That creates a magnified size of your shadow. That's not sunlight. And also, you also know that it's not the sun while I'm showing you the light source over my head here in Los Angeles at the same time. And also, it remains in alignment to me, which is what I'm capturing while I'm inside of my apartment at what is after 6 p.m. and the entity is maintaining this light source. Let me see if I have it so you can see it. I'm just capturing the light activity, it looks like, in this video. Okay, so hold on, let me see. I have the light source as I remain. This is Amazon Prime, who's group stalking right now, crossing path on Lobdell Place. It's 12:14. This is Amazon Prime that's group stalking as well, because the sun's not going to be on one street over, which is literally from Lobdell. It's actually, let me be clear. The sun is not over Lobdell or Amazon Prime that's crossing path on Lobdell. The sun is not over me. This is a light source that's not possibly the sun. That's the purpose of this documentation. Amazon Prime that's crossing path on Lobdell while the light source is over me. Amazon Prime is documented group stalking while you're looking at this light source that's over the same property. Let me be clear. Where you see it right now at 5:54 p.m., I'm at the same property right now when it's over me at 11:47 in the morning. Amazon Prime is a terrorist. They're engaging in what are terrorizing American citizens, seeking to do so secretly, and upon being exposed, they are still engaging in this demonic system, which is speaking to, let me be clear, their owners, the shareholders, the board of directors, whatever you want to call them. Let me be clear, the corporate headquarters in Northern California is a facilitating venue. It's not the sun. No, I believe Amazon's headquarters is not in Northern California, but they have plenty of corporate offices. Their offices, every building, every Amazon warehouse, they're facilitating venues. The workforce is demon-possessed, and those that are in ownership, exercising control, they're not ignorantly hiring a demon-possessed workforce. The entity is engaging in a pattern You do not have the coincidence of what is acting in sync with the entity that's stalking in helicopters. You do not have the pattern of crossing paths with engineered light, which is an impossible occurrence. You do not have the pattern or the luxury to claim ignorance where the light source is remaining over me and you are present, even while that demon wants to hold a package and wear a vest and or drive a vehicle bearing a logo, which again, this demon in particular did so without the logo on it. But I captured a close-up image of this demon who is indeed group stalking. And the entity is maintaining this light source at the same property. You're seeing it over me at what is 11:47 in the morning. There's no circumstance where the sun would remain over my head in the same manner as I'm still here at this same address at 5:54, which is the significance of what I'm capturing, while Amazon is acting in sync with the demons who are stalking in helicopters, sounding helicopter activity, okay? And doing so while they know that they're being exposed, because that's why LAPD is flying over my apartment right now. Okay, this is exactly what they were doing as I was literally noting every video that I capture, pointing out their criminal conduct. This is called relevant positioning. And while they're at this great distance, the entity amplifies helicopter activity inside of my apartment. So while I'm speaking, I'm not gonna lose my train of thought. That's the pattern, by the way, of demons and also malicious actors that are a part of a terrorist organization, not a law enforcement agency. Dominic Choi and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department are literally waiting for the day that they will be raided. And they're gonna be treated like the domestic enemy that they are. And they are doing so in concert with the domestic enemies that are hiding under the malicious guise of being American citizens. And they're terrorists in this country. And they serve Satan, which Satan doesn't want me to tell you. That's why Satan is trying to tell me in a letter, which is serving for what is malicious and criminal defamation, that is serving to obstruct justice, telling me not to refer to the entity as what it is, demons. While they are literally copying off of the target individual that's prosecuting them, trying to document, while I am documenting your criminal conduct. Let me be clear, Satan is nothing other he engages in nothing other than being a counterfeit. He can't produce anything on his own, no original ideas. So literally, and even that I'm going to use against you. Oh, you have a recording? You're a whole psychopath. You're group stalking and you're monitoring with that entity that just flew over my apartment while the light source is over me. LAPD is not doing anything other than group stalking, and you know that. In the same way that Amazon Prime isn't doing nothing other than group stalking, because the light source, which is not possibly the sun, is over me at the same time at Vos Church, a fake church in Ontario, California. All right, they serve Satan there. They're group stalking. The light source is in zenith over my head, and yet it's over my head in Los Angeles, which is not the shared environment. It's not the natural environment, nor is that natural behavior that the LAPD is exhibiting with malice, while they are the entity that is telling me that I cannot enforce my rights and document the demonic behavior and the terrorism that they're engaging in concert with the state, acting via speaker companies, Don Noggle and Heather Teal, Kim Jong and Sean Jong, okay? Tiffany Sherez, Vanessa Drees. Those that are, and the people who are referenced with regard to what are a bunch of psychopaths who are fearful of both all of the body of evidence against the people of the state. And you have a whole population of people that will be going to federal prison. And it includes those a part of terrorist organizations, openly engaging in what is terrorism, pacing all around in traffic right now, assuming that they're not already under the watchful eye of the feds. Right now, they're assuming that. The entity provides an ongoing body of evidence to their own demise on an ongoing basis, because you cannot secretly engage in group stalking. It's readily identified through the specific environment, and the targeting conduct, which is identified through the stalking behavior, the monitoring behavior by the entity as it engages in the elements. So what you're looking at right now is demonic pacing, which is what the entity is doing while I'm pointing out the fact that Amazon Prime was monitoring with that same terrorist. Amazon Prime is indeed a terrorist. Group stalking, which is what I'm capturing. This is my ability to capture the impossible, that the sun would be over my head at the same apartment complex at what is 5:54 p.m. This is Amazon Prime crossing path.
WLR537.
Hold on, I want you to see the plate of Amazon Prime.
8WLR537. This is engineer light that's on the side of the apartment building. Remember, when I'm inside of my apartment, engineer light, the pattern of the blinds is appearing both above my head and on the ceiling. And then outside you have as though sunlight and aim down.
Now all I'm doing is pointing out the impossible light activity. I'm on the same property. Let me be clear. My apartment window is right. This building right here that you're looking at, I'm on the 3rd floor. This is my apartment where the light source is directly over my head while I'm facing the front of my apartment. So this is the back of my apartment building. The light source is over my head right now at the back of my apartment building at 11:47 in the morning while I am at the same apartment complex. The light source is maintaining perfect alignment with me, and I want you to watch how Satan is identified and the demon-possessed, those that have the spirit of Satan on them, who are engaging in what is the criminalization of demonic activity, group stalking, while this light source remains in perfect alignment with me as I walk to the opposite end of the parking lot. And then I want you to remember what the entity was doing on June 12, 2022, which is maintaining a light source, which is not possibly the sun, never going to be in its zenith at both places at the same time. At no point in the day ever is both going to happen. Under no circumstances is the sun going to be present at one address, which is exactly what I'm capturing again today when I'm giving you the ongoing documentation, reminding you about what Amazon Prime is doing in plain sight, threatening my life, threatening my safety, being a sex offender, group stalking me while I'm in the private space, engaged in federal stalking with the entity that's using a helicopter. They're acting in sync. Amazon Prime just did that while they're crossing path at 1826 Lobdell Place, aware of everything that I'm uttering as I utter it. You know all of this because of the unnatural environment that surrounds Amazon Prime while it's in that unnatural environment, and also documented in the same exact criminal pattern of conduct. Okay, so this is under no circumstances going to be the sun that's going to be present at the same address at 5:54 p.m., which is what I documented the people of the state acted by Amazon Prime engaging in yesterday evening. Now, I want you to pay attention to what you're going to see here, which is very demonic. It's absolutely impossible. It's not the sun. At no time of day would the sun be at the same address, nor is this the conduct of the sun that keeps in perfect alignment with you no matter what direction you're going at all times of the day, which is what I'm showing is the pattern of conduct. And it is speaking to the hovering and demonic method of obsessive group stalking that a population wants to hide, conceal the fact that they are doing together, but they seek to do so maliciously. But while doing so, I call it the heights of passive aggression. And it's also actually not passive aggressive, because that passive aggressive, which I put in air quotes, that passive aggressive group stalking, while they keep their back to you, they look like they're focused on something else, but all they're doing is maintaining presence around you, keeping presence in your path, while they're also maintaining any method of light and noise, which is present. It's relevant to the engineered light that's all over the place, this weird, peculiar, creepy light, which is also letting you know about the fact that they have a spirit of Satan on them. It's demonic activity, it's demonic behavior, it's demonic coordinated presence all around you. And the entity does that with helicopters and by the state directly, which is then giving more context to there's nothing passive aggressive about the people's pattern of conduct, about the people's as part of the criminal system. It's not passive aggressive at all. It's present, it's ongoing in the demonic environment, which is terrorizing, and it's also present while the state is acting in concert, in sync with that entity, the people of the state, which is also terrorism. While they are together collectively engaging in that demonic hovering maintenance of presence, even while that demon will keep their back to you, even while they're walking on the sidewalk while I'm on the third floor of an apartment, and they are demons knowing exactly where you're located, which is why they're walking in that specific environment. That's how you know what they know, because of the specific environment. All right. So that's how you know the significance of what they're doing and their mind state, because of the specific environment. That's how you are also deducing specific intent. It is not going to be based on the legally irrelevant argument, which is not an argument stating, oh, I don't know the targeted individual. That's a delusional psychopath that is woefully unprepared for the Lord Jesus' exposure for what Satan is doing in the United States, and for literally facing judgment in the natural, in federal courts and throughout this country. That's what that is, and that's what that's revealing, because it is literally legally irrelevant. It has nothing to do with the operation of the system of group stalking. That's why you have that which is not possibly the sun over my head. That's why you have engineered light, not regular sunlight, that they're all maintaining presence in. By all, I mean the entire population, because there is no shared sky space or any sunlight that's going to be over this property while you're looking, or over this hillside, everywhere that I'm going, while it's remaining literally over my head in its zenith at the P.O.C. Church in Ontario, at the intersection of Euclid and B Street. Okay, from this location up here at the top, there's no sunlight that's touching on this sidewalk at Alvarado Gardens. There's no sun that's over my head, creating light activity, the shadow of the Jones who are engaging in demonic pacing while one body crosses path and the second body crosses path. And they're all pacing together while the demons are driving all around on the streets, on Effie, on Avalon, on Lobdell, on Alvarado, all in the parking lot, walking on the grounds of Alvarado Gardens, flying over my head in helicopter. The demons are pacing all around. They're doing it in engineered light. They're doing it while they also know that they're being documented. And they're going to be prosecuted for that level of malice and psychotic obsession. The government is terrorizing the one whom it is obsessively stalking. It's terrorizing that person. So the entity is doing so at 5 And the entity is Amazon Prime. I'm going to drain the pockets of Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime is going to be exposed as the domestic enemy that it is, while it's in this country having the nerve to want to collect the money of American citizens and sell you products, which are also aiding the government's ongoing agenda to monitor you, to group stalk you. That is to invade your privacy using communication devices and providing, big tech companies providing the types of things that you use, that you let into your home. You providing those cameras, and I'm not gonna, I have an Alexa also, okay? I'm just letting you know the reality of what is the monitoring system. And this is not to create paranoia, it's to inform you that this is real, and it's also rooted in the demonic. And you have what are companies, literally massive companies that make a lot of money, and they are serving Satan. Their workforce are serving Satan, aiding. This is relevant to the operation of government. It's relevant to the constitutionally based, so-called constitutionally based government that we have in the US, because the government is benefiting off of that. The cooperative conduct between the people who have companies such as Amazon, who are group stalking you while they are out in society, while it's present in the unnatural environment, which you are formerly ignorant about, and it is practicing the demonic, and it's criminal. Okay, so this is the same address at what is 5:54 p.m. This is the specific environment, not the natural environment. You are not delivering a package, nor do you have a right to engage in any operation of a business where you are criminally facilitating surveillance by a government that has no lawful basis under any circumstance to group stalk you. All right, and that group stalking system is readily identifiable by, again, the specific environment. And where the entity is heavily group stalking in helicopters and by police, fire, and ambulance, which is already established, Amazon Prime is facing an inevitable civil and criminal prosecution. Inevitable. Okay, so this is the light source that's over my head at 6:01 p.m. yesterday as I ended this video, and I want you to witness the demonic while this light source, that's, first of all, number one, it's not the sun, and then secondly, you're going to see the light source remain in perfect alignment with me every move that I make, every direction that I go, which is what I'm capturing when I'm on Omnitrans, on the buses, when I'm inside of any third-party vehicle, such as Uber or Tracy Banks. Okay, the ongoing pattern, which is again capturing again. It doesn't matter what time of day, what direction I'm going, no matter what I documented yesterday, the demon possessed are obsessed. Okay, so in the face of that evidence, which is exposing everybody, this is how you get closer and closer, and you can more closely and closely analyze, in other words, the demented mind state of the obsessed demons who are group stalking, even to their own demise at this point. Your system's not a secret. The fact that you're group stalking and the ways in which you engage in group stalking, and yet the entity will persist. How do you respond to any stalker? Just because it's the government, you're not lessening. Oh, you're increasing, you're enhancing, you're intensifying the punishment for that. And it's going to be aided with what are things to rehabilitate that sick population, which are currently occupying roles in the executive government. All right, in the government, in the local government, you're going to correct. It's necessarily permeating the population because of this type of public corruption that has never been exposed before. It's never been identified before, and it's going to require heavy federal inclusion. It's just going to require it because at every level of the state, it is corrupt, it's dirty, the state is filthy. Okay, this corruption is at every level of state government, all right, including the people. The people cannot be trusted. All right, so this is the light source that's remaining over me, and it's going to remain over me as I walk through the parking lot, and this is terrorizing as you are subject. Hold on, I want you to see. It is moving in real time as I move. Who arrives? A demon. All right, coming out of nowhere. I was just standing there. There was no car in front. The entity maintains presence. As I move, so the demons move, and so does the environment, the unnatural environment. Okay, that demon's nowhere in the driveway, not already coming up. The moment that I start moving, that light source, which is not possibly the sun, moves, and so do the demons to maintain presence. This is heavy duty surveillance that they want to secretly engage in, and it is of a demonic nature. The light source is remaining present over me, and so do the demons. This is how you understand who they're focusing on. It's remaining. And it's not shared with any Vos Church at B Street and Euclid Avenue in Ontario, where the documentation is comprehensive and thorough. From beginning to the end of the day, I'm capturing a light source, which I knew then is not the natural environment, not the sun, nor is it sunlight, breaking down every aspect of the criminal system. And then upon relocating to LA, you're looking at the same exact hallmarks in that specific environment, serving for what is groundbreaking federal prosecutions in the United States. Groundbreaking, historic, because of what the government is doing. Okay, and you do not serve any less justice because the government is the criminal. To the contrary, okay, because the crime is so great, the punishment and that which is designed to deter has to be that much more intense. And while the LAPD, those are demons stalking in a helicopter, and those are demons walking on the sidewalk in front of my apartment, not even naturally born from this country. They are, and not that it's any less threatening because you don't speak English or because you are literally the same skin tone as me, okay? And a black person, which I'm documenting this all the time, we're not tied together by race. That's not what separates us. That's not what unites us. There are people that are walking in darkness, and there are people that are of the light. That's the only thing that separates us, period. The kingdom of darkness, all right, and the kingdom of God. And let me be clear, the kingdom of darkness always loses. That's literally, by the way, why demons are stalking. That's literally why you're a stalker, because you are literally the tail. You're literally following. You're literally behind. You're literally copying, okay? You are the loser. All right, and the entity is engaging in what is maintaining this light source over me while the entity is maintaining presence. Rita Vega on this end. Okay, as I move, Rita Vega on this end. Hold on, let me show you on video. Here she is on this end. And Luis Ramos and Jeanette Balderas maintaining presence, manning the other end. While Amazon Prime is group stalking in the parking lot, coming onto the grounds. They're not delivering a package. You're understanding what is malice that the people of the state engage in. This is how you are openly engaging in what is a government system while you are simultaneously operating whatever business, whatever it is that you claim that you're doing. It becomes legally irrelevant, but anything that the entity wants to use while facilitating the government's criminal system of terrorism, whatever you want to use, you're going to lose. Okay, that's going to be the anthem. Whatever you want to use, you shall lose. The entity uses its companies. They use their children. This is what you saw Lorraine Pena engaging in, and her daughter centering their visual attention to a baby when these are demons maintaining presence in the path as I walk downstairs from my apartment to the office. Using that vehicle's light activity, walking all around to the sides of the vehicle. Oh, let me go get the baby. They're pacing around. And they're doing so while they're also aware of the fact that they're being documented, showing their ongoing obsession, which is shared by the whole entity. They're not acting as individuals. It is the P.O.C. of the demon-possessed population that's obsessively group stalking in concert with the entity that's engaged in 24-hour surveillance using helicopters. Okay, this is the entity that's manning my both sides of me in the parking lot under a light source at what is 5:54 p.m. and you just saw video. The light source is over my head inside of my apartment at the same address. Okay, and you're looking at what is then malice. What is Amazon Prime doing? Amazon Prime is criminally facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring. So, all right, 8WLR537. As I stand at the back of the vehicle, simultaneously sounds helicopter activity, which is a communication of a threat while the entity is letting you know that they're stalking, which you already know. All you're doing is analyzing like you would any other stalker, any other pattern of conduct by a stalker. You are analyzing. The stalker happens to be the state, so you're going to analyze and prosecute for any and everything that the state is doing and how it is reasonably communicating a threat to the life of that person that the government is stalking. Okay, so you already know that the state is stalking. This is the state. Amazon Prime, you are stripping yourself of the exercise of any individual rights or operation of a legitimate company in the specific environment. You have stepped into the shoes of the state. Okay, so like I said, this is the state, and the state is utilizing Amazon Prime. You already know that everybody you should know because I've been stating it, but keeping along with the consistent legal analysis, everybody living at the crime scene where there is no sun that's going to be present over my head at 11:47 until 5:54 p.m. That's not the sun, and they're all living at that specific environment, and they're all waiting to go to federal prison as well, because that's exactly where they're going. Including this same entity seeks to obstruct justice while referencing themselves, talking about, oh, they heard this, and that they heard me call them that, and that they recorded me saying this, and it's all a lie. They're engaged in an ongoing corporate invasion of privacy. You're talking about dealing with the government, capable of producing in whatever manner some so-called recording their group stalking. They're group stalking. And on top of that, they're demons. But this is the malice that's exhibited by a government. You're not dealing with Heather Teal and human resources. You're dealing with the state. That is, you're not dealing with one person or the company. You're actually dealing with a whole entity. This is a form of bullying while they are monitoring you. There's multiple levels of malice here. And you're also witnessing only a psychopath would engage in that level of lying. Lying while you are a whole stalker, a whole group of, a whole population of stalkers. Only a psychopath, okay? That's entirely psychotic. All right, so this is the reality of what they're engaging in, the malice that they act with, and Amazon is in the shoes of the state. And as Amazon presses their foot on the brakes, while the light source is over my head, at the same address where I'm at right now at 11:47 in the morning, in the parking lot. And like I exhibited also in video yesterday, I'm in the same location. 9 o'clock in the morning. The entity is engaging in a sunrise inside of my living room window as early as 6:45 in the morning. The entity is surrounded with evidence of what is under no circumstances the natural environment. And that also exists because you're going to juxtapose the P.O.C., the body of evidence that's already on the record, as though because the entity provided me evidence suggesting that the sun would ever rise and set at the same Ontario Museum of History and Arts, or rise over me at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts and set on the same block as I walk north up Euclid Avenue at the Ovid Family Community Library. Okay, as I remain at one address, which is less than 1,000 feet away, moving in no direction west whatsoever, by the way, in doing so. All right, this is the entity that's providing that level of evidence and then seeking to obstruct justice by engaging in what is a libelous document that they are literally providing to me. I could not ask for more when I stand before that federal judge, and I've already provided ongoing analysis step by step of this government who is engaging in the criminal conduct and the malice and impunity that is built into their criminal conduct, and the ways in which justice requires, in the same way that they sought to snuff my life out and snuff out my ability to take care of myself and maintain what is the ability to protect myself from harm, as they engage in assault and battery as one, as they engage in stalking and harassment as one, as they engage in what are acts to falsely depict and criminally defame as one, by one who wants to engage in psychotic and demonic group stalking, and then are hostile because you have the audacity to enforce your rights. These are animals who need to be locked up. And this is in conformity to the state of California's criminal pattern of conduct. It is in conformity to the state of California's pattern of conduct. Literally. Okay, so this is the light source that's over me. This is Amazon Prime. That is indeed group stalking. Stepping on his brakes. At the same time, the entity amplifies helicopter activity, which is the combination of what is light activity, relevant positioning, while I am, he's in his vehicle in relevant position to me, and the light sources are directly over my head, and that in sync conduct. And then you're dealing with, look at the face of a psychopath. He's looking perplexed, and and I'm smiling. You can hear what I'm saying to him. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear the helicopter? Because I'm making sure I document. He's group stalking with the state. What comes out of the mouth of Satan, what Satan is outwardly conducting themselves as, becomes legally irrelevant outside of engaging in any physical harm or anything like that. But the demons will look to the left and the right. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Oh, watch out there. Hey, good morning. It's all audible activity. All of it. It's all serving for monitoring. So you're getting beyond the superficial veneer, and you are understanding the highly deceptive form of that which is demonic and criminal in operation by a government. That's what you're getting beyond. That's what you're learning to get beyond. Okay, he's acting in sync with the entity that's sounding helicopter activity as he steps on his brakes, which are the elements of monitoring, and the light source is over me. That is the unmistakable pattern of conduct. And there's nothing that you're stating otherwise that's legally relevant. You have the phenomenon, never is that naturally occurring, and that phenomenon is there because that criminal system is in operation and it controls, period. That's why it's there. Okay, so the entity is engaging in an assault with a deadly weapon by virtue of doing so while the entity sounds helicopter activity, comes onto the ground, delivering package to a third-party group stalker. A third-party group stalker coming onto the grounds of the specific environment to directly pose a threat to the life of the target individual upon federal group stalking and monitoring in concert with the state that's sounding helicopter activity is called relevant positioning, light activity, and audible activity creation. Posing an impermissible threat, it is the grounds of federal prison. Because you're engaging in an assault with a deadly weapon upon federal group stalking and monitoring, posing an impermissible threat. Amazon Prime, representing the people of the state, knows specifically that the state's being documented. The entity knows. All of the entity knows. There's nobody that's ignorant. All of the entity that's monitoring me, they all know together that they're being exposed. That all of the entity that's monitoring, the government that's monitoring me, knows that I'm exposing it. And all you're looking at is the government. So this is what Amazon Prime, this is what Rita Vega, this is what Heather Teal, this is what Tiffany Sherez, Vanessa Dries are supposed to masquerade as. You're not supposed to see the state. You're supposed to see that individual. You don't even see that. What you see is a demon-possessed, malicious actor, a third party. It's actually the state. It's the state. They're one. They are in the shoes of the state. The state is masquerading, hiding, literally hiding itself amongst the people who are maintaining vicarious presence and activity, engaging in the elements of monitoring, practicing demonic activity. And it's the criminalization of it because the government that wants to keep you under surveillance, doing it in concert with the people for which there is no constitutional basis, is doing so while it is necessarily also engaging in what is terrorism by virtue of that criminal conduct and because it's demonic. It's entirely out of the pit of hell. Okay, so this is pointing out it's 12:39 p.m. The entity maintains a light source, as you already know. and the entity is doing so on an ongoing basis. The light source remains over me as I then go into my apartment. The entity is engaging in what is documentation of rising and setting a light source. And just to be thorough, not only am I capturing on this is June. I used June 12th because I had literally down to the same time, which I wanted to do something that precise. It's still relevant. I give vivid illustrations. That's my point. And using down to the same hour, minute. It's impossible under all circumstances. It's never happening naturally, ever. It is revealing to you the evidence of that which you cannot physically perceive on a person or in an environment. Okay, that which is the spiritual condition, what's going on spiritually in the environment. It's a demonic environment, and these are people with the spirit of Satan on them. It's demonic possession, and they are acting in concert, and they don't have to get up and have a committee meeting to do so. It is Satan that's operating influence over all of them. That's how they have the ability to follow, that is stalk with the creation of audible activity. In a demonic method, you're flying at a great distance, also flying in a circle, okay? That's the demonic pacing, but yet it's amplified, meaning I'm hearing it inside of my apartment while there's no helicopter in sight, okay? While I walk around and say, oh, there they are way down over there. It's impossible that I could hear that inside of my office, though. It's impossible that I could hear that inside of my apartment. That's how you are recognizing how a demon is targeting you. It's the identification of the condition, and it's the identification of the criminal system. The criminal system is malicious. They're group stalking via demonic methods. Group stalking is demonic activity, okay? So not only is the entity maintaining a light source as I'm documenting on June 11th, this is indeed a sunrise that I'm capturing while I am on Route 61. I'm going to the Ontario Mills Mall. If you're familiar with the Inland Empire, the Ontario Mills Mall, it's pretty large mall, pretty well-known mall. Route 61, which is headed eastbound on Holt Boulevard through Fontana, heading eastbound, in other words, from Holt Boulevard, where I get up at the museum. This is the light source that's over me in the morning. And I'm only going over this because I've documented already in LA, inside of this apartment, a so-called sunrise. Never is that ever the natural sunrise. The body of evidence showing a day in and day out the entity maintaining a light source over me, I so heavily documented that, not just this year in 2022. I documented in 2021, in 2020, in 2019, in 2018, because there is no mistaking what the entity was surrounding me with. And I understand, in order for purposes of prosecuting a population for what the government is doing, it's a population crime, okay, if you want me to put it in those terms. You have to have evidence establishing that it is an unmistakable pattern, subject to no exceptions. There's no deviation from that pattern. And that is the P.O.C. That's why you have years and years and years of that. But like I said, the ordinary target individual, I'm establishing precedent. I'm letting you know what's going on, and it's unmistakable. And you're talking about an outright departure from that which isn't even natural in the first place in an entirely different region. Based on what the entity did, there's no sun ever anywhere else in the environment. This is why you don't engage in such asininity of keeping a sun over one building, over one person all day, no matter what direction. This is what was so preposterous, and this is what you can literally perceive from the tone of my voice as I would document on podcast and on camera and in pictures. It's literally asininity. And that's exactly what you hear reflected in my voice as I captured this absurd criminal system. Okay, so it is the entity maintaining this light source over me while I'm at the Ontario International Airport. This is ringing the alarm, blowing the whistle. The Ontario International Airport is engaged in state terrorism. Okay, the light source is strolling right on through, keeping in stride with me. The entity uses, under the guise of, the police are doing their job, maintaining order at the airports. The people are under the guise of they're unloading their luggage, they're getting out. Those demons are engaging in the P.O.C. seamlessly, simultaneously, while the elements of monitoring are underway. The ability of the demon-possessed to multitask, in other words, is what you're learning. Everything that they're doing pursuant to that same demonic pattern. Here comes the light source, which is not possibly the sun, remaining over me, visible through the window of a bus that's passing through the Ontario airport. That is not the exclusion of the Ontario airport. You are looking at the same elements of monitoring. And it is, again, because I understand what the imagination of the ordinary person that's genuinely ignorant. Okay, I'm not talking to the minions out here that are of that same spirit that will try to find anything, but you cannot logically or intelligently rebut the evidence that is speaking to an unnatural environment. We're not over here pontificating about the spirit. Okay, I'm giving the evidence of the spiritual and the criminal by tangible evidence, which would be submitted in a federal tribunal. Okay, you cannot reasonably contend against that. So the entity is maintaining a specific environment. And yes, it is letting you know about what is the condition of everybody at all venues, every house I pass by, every business establishment, including the airport, everybody at the airport. Because I understand that because I went through the same mind state and I have witnessed the same identical pattern, and there is no exception. There is literally no exception. None. Even to the commercial airline planes, the planes follow in the path that I walk as I walk. The light source, all of the environment follows, and the entity is group stalking by commercial airline planes, maintaining presence, crossing path, amplified audible activity in the commercial airline planes. Just as I go in the direction east, so the commercial airline planes maintain presence, crossing path, proceeding in that same direction. As I go in the direction west, so will the planes advance in that same direction west, maintaining presence in alignment to me for purposes of ongoing crossing path in the sky space with commercial airline planes. And you'll see the same environment. This is massive monitoring, massive surveillance in the state of California, and it is demonic. Okay, so this is just showing you what is a light source as I am on, this is Ferrari and Inland Empire, yeah, on Route 61, and I am at the Ontario Mills. This is the Sam's Club parking lot at 7 o'clock in the morning, okay? And what I'm showing is as I engage in a deviation from that, 7 o'clock in the morning, so not too much, let me just show you the same time. I remain here, I'm documenting ongoing relevant positioning. The light source is remaining over me. It's letting you know about everybody that's in the environment. This is an unnatural environment, never is that the sun. In addition to that, what do you remember? There is no sunrise that's gonna be visible in a perfect alignment with me, staying at the same property all day long as I remain here, as though that's the sun. The two are not happening at the same time, and the sun is never gonna be at one address for the duration of the day, okay? The entity is maintaining a light source, which is already captured as a matter of evidence as I'm at the Ontario Mills on this day at 7 in the morning. The people of the state are the parking lot maintaining activity. Well, they all represent communication devices, and they're maintaining presence, and this is the identification of a demon possessed person also. Okay, the entity is, and let me be clear, this is the identification of the state, not an individual. They're in the shoes of the state, is using the people. Okay, so the entity is maintaining the specific environment, and this is exactly why I captured the pictures the way I do. I want you to look at that phenomenon that's over that third party. Okay, group stalker. All right, and this is not visible through my living room window in Los Angeles, ever, especially while it remains over me in Los Angeles, which is speaking to, well, then pray tell, what was this? What was that? How did I ever capture this? If that's the sun, okay, that's exposing what the state is doing on an ongoing basis everywhere that the target individual goes. So the entity is maintaining this light source of documenting the people of the state, and unfortunately I have to report to you, like I told you yesterday, is I'm documenting the Navy, I've documented Marines, I've documented Army personnel, I've documented the federal people that have federal plates, I've documented those that are part of the federal government engaging in what is first of all demonic, second of all, actually, first of all criminal. It's relevant context that it's demonic, but it is disturbing that government actors are under this condition. It becomes legally relevant where you are at this level of consumption by Satan. This is the inability to be trustworthy. You can't trust this person. This person is inherently infected. They're not trustworthy. They're dishonest. They lend themselves to corruption, to criminal conduct, to deceit. Okay, that's literally the nature of Satan. Okay, so this is the entity that is doing so in the specific environment, and this is what I'm documenting in 2022 on June 12th. Just to give you an example, the next day, I don't get on the bus. I don't go anywhere to Route 61 and travel to the Ontario Mills Mall. I sleep in at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. And at around the same time when I'm at the Ontario Mills, which again, I know you're hearing the same city, Ontario, so that does not mean that the sun is maintaining its zenith over you everywhere in the city all day long. Okay? And so I was stating that from the beginning, and now you can see it even more so when I literally am living in Los Angeles. I'm not traveling back to Ontario, all right? I'm staying in Los Angeles, waking up in Los Angeles, going to sleep in Los Angeles, and it is exactly what I stated was the case in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. Because you're in the city of Ontario, that does not mean that everywhere in Ontario, the sun is keeping its zenith over you and it's going to stay over you. And it being over you at the Ontario Mill standing in front of Macy's is the same position as you look up and take a picture of the sun while you're standing at the Shiro's Liquor at Holt Boulevard and Plum in Ontario off of Holt Boulevard. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's the same illogical and false argument that the sun is maintaining its presence over everyone's head in its zenith for the duration of the day. We're all looking at the sun at the same angle for the duration of the day, no matter if you stay at that same location all day long or whether you travel in any direction, and that's false. That's not the sun. The only thing that is maintaining ubiquitous presence like that is the sky. That's it. That's it, not the sun. Okay, so as I'm capturing on June 12th, just to give you another example, I stay at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, and this is where the sun stays. And while it's over the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, in its zenith, over my head, right where I remain at the museum, not getting on the bus, not traveling to the Ontario Mills, walking all around, documenting a whole bunch of people, coming back later in the morning, later in the afternoon, I stay at the place where I wake up in the morning. I stay there, and so does the light source. It's not the sun. So does the so-called sun, the light source. And while it's over my head at this location, it is not over the Sam's Club in the parking lot at the Ontario Mills. This is not going to be seen at that same location. This is what the entity is providing as I document it is false and scientifically impossible evidence of the criminal conduct, which is necessarily suggesting, which is in direct conflict with nature and science and common sense, that the sun is everywhere all the time, all day long, over everyone. We're all looking at it in the same manner, and it just looks like it's here, but it's also over the Sam's Club parking lot in that same manner that I documented at the same time. Okay, even though I got up and I traveled and I went a distance, and as I traveled, this light source was visible over me for the duration of that travel. Okay, and as I stay at this same museum, that light source is still present over this same museum as I'm capturing after 5 o'clock in the evening. That's also impossible. So you're suggesting both, that it's everywhere all the time, and it's also staying at the same place, not moving, but the sun is a gaseous ball of fire that's engaged in constant movement. Okay, so like I said, it's not possible under any circumstances, nor is there any shared environment, shared sky space, or any sunlight, in other words, while I am in Los Angeles over this property where I'm capturing the light source over my head, literally as I capture this sunrise at 7:38, while it's over my head at 11:47 in LA, where you know that it's remaining, which is how I capture the group stalking conduct by the people of the state acting via Amazon Prime, who are group stalking after 5:54 p.m. as they are the so-called sun, which is not going to be over the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, while it's remaining over me, and literally in documentation as a matter of evidence while I am in front of my leasing office, not at my front door. Okay, as I walk to and fro, the entity is maintaining a light source at 318. You know where the light source is going to be at 318? It's not going to be visible at this angle outside of my leasing office door. It's going to be over my bedroom window. This light source is not the reason for, or the cause for, the engineer light that's appearing on my ceilings and on the carpet. The two are distinct. While this light source is not even present, okay, while it is absent, the entity maintains engineer light on my ceilings and on my floor, appearing and disappearing all day long. That's not sunlight, nor is that the sun, nor is it anywhere in Ontario as I'm capturing it, maintaining the same position over the top of my head in an entirely different region. And what's occurring in that environment? In that environment, the entity is group stalking, which is what I'm capturing on an ongoing basis, literally a day and night, which is what I captured. For example, let's see. Yeah, 11:22. This is the entity flying directly over my head. The light source is directly over my head. This is at 11:22 in the morning. There's not going to be any sun over the Ovid Family Community Library, like I'm documenting. Okay, 11 when I'm at the remaining at that venue. I'm going to the Ontario Mills. It's rising over me at the museum, and then I'm traveling, and it stays over me, and it's setting at that Ovid Family Community Library. It's setting in alignment to my bedroom window here in LA, the same apartment where I'm capturing the sunrise. This is speaking to where the entity is stalking, which is the identification of the specific environment. It's the identification of group stalking by the people of the state, while the state is on its face stalking, okay? The state is on its face stalking, and doing so while aware of the fact that their criminal conduct is being cataloged, literally itemized, and then the entity is providing evidence where you are witnessing the malice that is entity that is indeed group stalking, and doing so, hold on, let me capture. Doing so in a manner where you are witnessing this level of stalking 24/7. And this is again at 1:54 in the morning. While they're flying in circles, which is what the entity was doing for over 20 minutes at 1:54 in the morning, this was captured. Sorry, let me see. This is, can't see the date. This was captured on May 22nd, 2024, 1:54 in the morning. This is the same agency that's engaging in what is demonic pacing. The spotlight is not pursuant to any emergency. It's light activity. Let me be clear, disrupting my quiet enjoyment inside of my apartment while the entity is what? Engaging in what? What's the pattern that you see here? Appearing to focus their attention on someone else, but while they're appearing to focus their attention on someone else, they're in relevant position to me. They're close by me, pacing, using light activity, while the sound of the helicopter is the audible activity, occurring at the moment that I'm in operation of my communication device, documenting the people of the state at 1:54 in the morning, in concert with the people of the state who are exceedingly hostile and at the same time fearful, but the demons are not fearful enough to stop engaging in terrorism. They engage in more terrorism to their own demise. And at 1:54 in the morning, the entity is again literally flying in circles repeatedly over building 1800. This is where the entity has a sunrise and a sunset. This is nothing other than light activity, pacing around in a circle while they are monitoring and monitoring what I'm doing on my phone, which is Title 18 2261A criminal conduct. And it's the same that the people of the state have, who are group stalking with this terrorist organization masquerading as a law enforcement agency, acting pursuant to a well-documented pattern. I will show you what the terrorist organization, for example, the Ontario Police Department is engaging in while they were heavily keeping me under surveillance in this specific environment. This is indeed the specific environment. As you walk outside, your shadow moves all around you, appearing at different